and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
An educated workforce is a devastating thing. You're leading the baddest motherfuckers on this planet. We have been subjugated to management's tyranny too long. Too long. Today, we're gonna pick a fight. You're leading the baddest motherfuckers on this planet. The union's here now. We have to be united. That's what we have to do as a union. We are all the union. Educated workforce is a devastating thing. We are all the union. The most powerful individual on the working floor is the shop steward. If I tell you that I love you, that means if Satan came up and got you himself, I would go to hell to get you back. The union's here now. You can never put anything above the city letter carrier. Letter carrier is personal to me. That's my heart. The city letter carriers. Satan came up and got you himself, I would go to hell to get you back. Never put anything above the city letter carriers. We have to be united. And I will go to war with y'all every day. All right, welcome back to From A to Arbitration. I'm going to have 2 episodes. I'm going to have an episode today. I've got so much stuff to cover. And then tomorrow I'm going to have the episode I'm just going to read for an hour, that route inspection stuff. All right, so today I'm going to have an episode. I'm going to cuss in it. And tomorrow there'll be no cussing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. So you'll know that I will use profanity today. There will be some curse words, and tomorrow there will be none. All right, so if you want to wait until tomorrow so you'll have the curse-free episode, that'd be great. But today I will use some profane language. Okay, and so got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to do some shout-outs, got some rallies, and things like that. So first off, like I said, we're going to talk about Mallory to show her some love. And I'm going to do it every week. If you go on to from8arbitration.com and you're like, I remember Corey talking about a subject, but man, he's got 200 and something episodes. She's got each episode. You can just scroll down through there. I'm talking about like bullet pointed. Go down through there and say that there's the one that talks about deems desirable, or there's the one that talks about stationary events, or there's the one that talks about HIP and all that stuff. She spends endless amount of hours doing that stuff for y'all. And she puts up all the episodes, all the things, the sites on the episodes. So she is invaluable to not only me, but y'all, because she's the one who puts it all out there for you. And so get on that. When you get on from8arbitration.com, you'll see that the prompt about show Mallory some love. I call it the little tip jar. You know, you don't have to bankrupt yourself, but you know, if you could give her a little love, that'd be fantastic. She does a lot of great things for y'all on from8arbitration.com. So make sure you get on there and show her some love. The CLC. I'm going to start doing this every week. It costs a lot of money to run an election, right? A lot of money and for election. And you're going to have major mailings go out to every single letter carrier in the country. That costs money. And the current ticket, whoever is left standing on Renfro's ticket, they're jumping ship like crazy because they know he's lost and he's a failure. But they're going to be requesting money. There's a lot of fundraising that goes on. And so the CLC and Renfro, they're going to be raising money. And because those are the two that are going at it. And Renfro's going to lose, but we still have to do our due diligence, right? Just like with management. We have to make sure we cover all of our bases. And so that's what we're going to do. If you get on concernedlettercarriers.com, you'll see the prompt. If you can get on there and donate, you can get merchandise. You can sign up for things. Social media is on there, and sign up for all the social media sites. You can endorse. And so everything you need to do is on concernedlettercarriers.com, okay? And so get on there. I'm going to be talking about that every week because it's very important. We have got to take back over this union. We're going to take back over this union and put the city letter carrier back in charge of this thing and take it away from these corrupt assholes we got in it right now, okay? So that's what we're going to do. And so get on concernedlettercarriers.com. Donate what you can. I'm going to be talking about that every week. Get your merchandise, and you can wear that around your business agents and around Renfro when he comes spewing all that dumbass shit he talks about, all right? And so get on there and do that. Dogs of War, major success. I didn't expect that kind of response to that, but that's amazing. That's amazing. Because here's the thing. All these years we've been dealing with a toxic working environment. All these years. And you've got joint memos where we've come out with all these teams, how we're going to handle the toxic working environment. Those things never work because management has no desire to correct the hostile working environment. Matter of fact, they put things in place that promote that. And so we're going to have to do this on our own. And that's exactly what's going to happen. James Henry tasked me with that, and it's already done. Just like that, it's already done. And so as soon as we take over, we've got enough names. If you want to sign up, sign up. We have enough names to do what we need to do. The education is going to be second to none. It'll be the most thorough education that you're going to get. And so that education is going to be second to none. All right. If you've emailed me, surely I've contacted you. I should have. If not, just shoot me a message and I'll make sure that's taken care of. But that's going to be implemented day one. I've got the individual, like I said, that's going to handle that. He's already got the training in the works. And so as soon as we take over, we're going to have people come up. They're going to be trained. Those teams are going to be ready to go in. And these teams are going to be those individuals that have decided they're not going to take it any longer, and they're going to do something for our city letter carriers. They're going to be the ones that go into these stations and fuck shit up. And that's exactly what these teams are going to do. They're going to be highly militant individuals. And if you saw the resumes, y'all would be highly impressed. And if you have no resume, here's another thing. I've had a lot of people contact me and say, hey, I'm not even a shop steward, but I want to fuck some shit up. So you're who I'm looking for. You're who I'm looking for. Hey, I've done this stuff, man. I have gone in and fucked shit up in these teams. And so, yeah, I know what's going to happen. I know where we're going. And so I love that, though. I love people messaging and saying, man, I'm not even a shop steward, but I want to go fuck some shit up. So they're going to sign up as well, all right? But these are the consequences when we talk about that. These teams are the consequence of the shit that management has done to us for far too long. That's what they are. When you talk about retribution, that's what these teams are. These teams are retribution. They are going to be militant, crazed dogs. And so that's what's fixing to happen. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. We will curb the toxic working environment on these floors. I promise you that. I promise you that. I said, give me 1 year. It may be quicker than that. I want it to be so devastating that James Henry comes into my office and says, hang on just a second. Management's ready to talk. That will happen. That will happen. We're going to be in a fucking free-for-all right off the fucking jump going after people. I want James Henry to come into my office and say, hey, hang on. Hang on. They're wanting to talk. And that will happen. That will happen. But they're fixing to face the consequences of what they've done to us. That's priority one to me, is the toxic working environment. Look, non-compliance and all those things are serious, and we're going to handle that. I promise you that. We're going to handle non-compliance. All these things that we talk about. Number one to me is the toxic working environment, because it affects us in the office and it affects us at home. It keeps us awake at night. It keeps us from wanting to come to work in the morning. It's one of the major issues we have with attendance is toxic working environment. People just not wanting to go in. If you look at publication 552, there's a chart in there that talks about that, and you'll go over that in your training. But it talks about a reduction in productivity. It talks about an escalation in attendance issues. And all of this is because of toxic working environment. All these things that management understands and knows, all of these things, the data that has come out about this, and they still push management to fuck us over and to create a toxic working environment. So we're going to have these teams address it, and it will be addressed. And so, I would like to be cordial. I would like to sit down and eat with management and talk about things, what we can do. We've tried that. Those days are over. Those days are over. Some tables are meant to be sat at and eaten at, and some are meant to be turned the fuck over. These teams, they're turning tables over. That's what they're doing. We're not eating with management. We're not extending a hand of, let's talk. Those days are over. When we get in there, these teams, they're going to turn tables over. Plain and simple. Some are meant to be eaten at, some are meant to be turned over. And these teams, turning shit over. They are the consequence, like I said. So, loved the response. Loved the response. If y'all could sing, how many of your brothers and sisters said, hey, choose me. Let it be me. I want to go in and deal with these motherfuckers that have been fucking with our brothers and sisters for far too fucking long. And it's going to happen. It's happening. I promise you that. It's happening. I've got some shout outs I'm going to do and some rallies. And then I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to get into this Doge thing. I think that's how they're named, Doge. A lot of people have messaged me about that. Reddit still, they're mad at me because I say I don't worry about anything. And so I'm going to go over a little bit about that and my opinion on that. If you care, you might not care. But that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to start reading shit. I've got rallies and I've got shout outs, and I'm just going to read them. I tell you, all those messages came in, and a lot of them are shout outs, so I apologize if these are late, okay? But I'm just now getting them. And I'll get some more tomorrow. Probably get some more next Sunday. All right, let's start with my man, Mr. John Cruz. He's going to be the first one. He said, if possible, can you give a shout out to Branch 41 Merged Executive on your next episode? Thank you for all that you do for the membership and hard work you put forward. And without you guys, I don't know what I would do. Thank you, Brooklyn, Staten Island, badass. So that's from President John Cruz. He's saying, thank you for all that you do for the membership and hard work you put forward. And without you guys, I don't know what I would do. Thank you, Brooklyn, Staten Island. That's the Branch 41 Merged Executive Board. So if you know John Cruz, you love John Cruz. One of the baddest dudes you'll know. He's the Brooklyn badass. And so there's a shout out from him to his people. So absolutely, my man. I'll give you a shout out there. Here's another. Branch 274, Lehigh Valley, is marching in the 66th Annual Allentown St. Patrick's Day Parade on Sunday, March 23rd. Meet at 12:45 p.m. at Ritz Barbecue at the Allentown Fairgrounds. Join hundreds of fellow union brothers and sisters to remind the community that we show up for them like we show up for every single day. So there you go. Branch 274 Lehigh Valley is marching in the 66th annual Allentown St. Patrick's Day Parade on Sunday, March 23rd. Meet at 12:45 p.m. at Ritz Barbecue at the Allentown Fairgrounds. Join hundreds of fellow union brothers and sisters to remind the community that we show up for them like we show up every single day. Convention Hotel Caesars, Southern Indiana, 11999 Casino Center Drive, Southeast Elizabeth, Indiana, 47117. This convention will be hosted by Jeffersonville Branch 553 at Caesars Southern Indiana Hotel in Elizabeth, Indiana on April 22nd and 23rd, 2025. This is a Tuesday, Wednesday. Reservations can be made, and you got something you got to click. Of course, you can't do that. A copy of the convention call can be found there. You can't click that either. But it says this convention will be hosted by Jeffersonville Branch 553 at Caesars Southern Indiana Hotel in Elizabeth, Indiana on April 22nd, 23rd, 2025. This is a Tuesday and Wednesday. Brother Corey, I'm writing to request a shout out to Matthew Copson from Branch 43 out of Cincinnati, Ohio. If you look up determined in the dictionary, you'll find a picture of Matt. When the TA came out, he was in action, immediately printing out and distributing flyers. Many of our colleagues didn't know what the TA was, much less that they were supposed to vote on it. And Matt cheerfully took time to answer any and everyone's questions, directly contributed to several no votes within our station. Now, as we face one of the biggest threats in postal history, he is tireless. He is printing and distributing flyers for the upcoming rally, not only within the station, but also to customers. He has reached out to local businesses, one of which has agreed to make an Instagram post promoting the rally to over 22,000 followers. He has messaged non-postal podcasts with listener bases who depend on the Postal Service, whether they be small businesses or located in rural areas or both. He has attended neighborhood community meetings to pass out flyers and spread the word as best he can. He is constantly brainstorming more ways to make our plight known. Matt does none of this for his own recognition or thanks. He does it because he believes it's the right thing to do, and he does it while a frequent flyer on the OTDL and a dedicated father of three. Our station and our union are lucky to have him, so even if he doesn't want the recognition, he gets some today. And there it's signed sincerely, and I'm not going to say the name, but there's what you need to do. All these people worried, all these people concerned. We can either run around fretting, acting like our hair is on fire, getting in the closet hiding for 4 years under this administration, or we can be Matthew Copson. And we can take things into our own hands. As city letter carriers, that's what we're going to have to do. Look, we are fucked over right now as far as where we are as the city letter carrier. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a second. But we have the union that is completely ignorant as far as what to do for the city letter carrier. We have leadership right now in our union that's incompetent at best. We've got a postal service that is in disarray and incompetent at best. We've got an administration now that's making us keep our head on a swivel. Right? We don't know what's going on really. But what can we do? You can be a Matthew Copson. And we will take things into our own hands like we have as city letter carriers with the vote, the TA vote, smashing the shit out of that. When we talk about the election coming up next year, the city letter carrier is going to stand up again. Be a Matthew Copson. We can either stand around wringing our hands or we can get in a fucking ring. And so that's what Matthew Copson's done. So there's your shout out, my brother. I love you, my man, and I appreciate you more than you know. That's badass shit right there. Here's another rally. Hell no to dismantling the Postal Service. Stand with letter carriers rally to save USPS. NELC Branch 9, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Sunday, March 23rd at 11 a.m. State Capitol South Steps. 75 Reverend Martin Luther King Boulevard, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55155. All right. So there's your Rally to Save USPS, Branch 9, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sunday, March 23rd at 11 a.m. Here's a good little thing that they put out there. Stand with letter carriers, and I guess they handed this out. The 295,000 active and retired members of the National Association of Letter Carriers have a message to deliver: hands off the Postal Service. Any effort to privatize or restructure USPS is a direct threat to 640,000 postal employees, including 200,000 city letter carriers represented by NALC. The universal service every American relies on. Millions of households and businesses, especially in rural America. The consequences would be devastating, jeopardizing the jobs of the 7.9 million people employed by the 1.92 trillion mailing industry. Reducing services to 51.5 million households and businesses in rural communities where private carriers do not deliver. Raising shipping costs and driving inflation higher for businesses and consumers. Such proposals are illegal and unconstitutional. The Postal Service, older than our nation itself, is enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution gives Congress, not the President, a key role in setting postal policy. Mandated by federal law, USPS has been an independent, self-sufficient agency for 55 years. Why we're fighting? To protect the jobs of 640,000 USPS employees, including 73,000 veterans. To uphold our universal service obligation, delivering 376 million pieces of mail and packages to nearly 169 million delivery points nationwide. To safeguard USPS, one of the nation's most trusted public agencies. To oppose privatization efforts or reorganizational mandates that would threaten the Postal Service and our jobs. So that's damn good right there. If that's a handout or if they're just putting it on social media, that's awesome. Corey, I want to give a very heartfelt shout out to our people in the small office. I myself am from a small 2-route office, and I want every tough as nails person out there in light blue every day suffering in the small office to hear this. I love you all. I am you, and most importantly, you are not alone. If you're in a small office and cannot get any help from your branch because they're a big office mentality and tend to overlook you, I'm here for you. I will help you on my own time. Please reach out to me at iwillfightforyoulightblue@gmail.com. I will fight for you, and that's the number 4. I will fight for you light blue, LITE, blue @gmail.com. And we can talk through what you can do to make your situation better. It is possible, I promise you, because I have done it and you can do it too. So today, a huge shout the fuck out to you small letter office letter carriers, because damn it, you matter. And so that's another thing that we're going to get under control when the CLC takes over. When I tell you that every city letter carrier will be educated, every city letter carrier will know my name, will be contacted, all these small offices. Do you know why small offices are forgotten by MBAs? Do y'all know why? Because they're not votes. They're not any votes. MBAs want large branches. That's where you're going to see them do most of their ass kissing and most of their time. They're going to spend it in large branches because that's where the votes are. You look at our bitch ass President Renfro. Who does he suck up to? These large branches. You have a big election coming up in Branch 36. Pay attention to that election in Branch 36. You have major ass kissers running that branch, and you've got the President Renfro lackeys running that branch. And so he will suck up to these big branches, right? And just like that branch that fucked over my president friend from New Jersey on that S&DC, when Renfro went against his own signature, he does that for votes. Well, small offices, you get forgotten because you're not votes. You don't matter to them. You don't matter to the MBAs and this president of this union because you don't bring any votes, and that's the bottom line. And so you will always be forgotten under administration where power is the most important thing. It's not about education. It's not about loving the city letter carrier. That's where we're at right now, is that you have an administration that loves title and power and money and themselves, and fuck the city letter carrier, especially those city letter carriers in small offices, especially those CCAs. Fuck them. They don't matter. They're not voting. They're not votes. And so that's what will happen. And so here you have a gentleman at a small station saying, hey, you do matter. You do matter. And if you have issues, contact me. And I will fight for you, lightblue@gmail.com. And he wanted me to read that to you. So he's putting himself out there. I will fight for you, lightblue@gmail.com. And so until the CLC takes over, it will be that way. You'll have large branches that get all the attention because they're votes, and they'll piss on these small stations. You'll get no training. You'll get no education. You can't afford to go to regional training. Your branch is probably not big enough to do that. You'll have to get on from 8 arbitration and listen to this old man rant and rave and educate every once in a while. You got some other great podcasts coming out there that are trying to educate these small offices to help you out. Your business agents don't give a shit because you don't matter. You're not votes. And your president's a straight up bitch. And so that's just how it is until the CLC can take over. All right. So I appreciate you, my man, for sending me that and for stepping up to do what's right and helping out your people. Here's something that somebody sent me. It says, hey, Corey, odd question. Who do you know that could help out a brand new clerk shop steward who is a lioness but needs help? Her own branch president signed a remedy agreement that violated the clerk LMOU in her office and has now given her false advice on a clerk pecking order issue. Who do you know, if anyone on the clerk side loves kicking ass? And so here's what I'm going to do. I've got this name. If there are any clerk shop stewards out there, I know a lot of clerks listen. If you want to help out, message me. Message me your name and contact information, and I'm going to get it to this individual here, okay? Last time this happened, we had an abundance of people reaching out from different crafts, okay? So if you're a clerk, you're a shop steward, and you want to help out a young lioness, message me, all right? And I'm going to get it to this individual. Here's another rally. Hell no to dismantling the Postal Service. Stand with letter carriers. Rally to save USPS. NELC branches 10, 30, 104, 499, 1018, 5267, and 5521. Sunday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. Mill Creek Park, south end west of 47th and Main, Kansas City, Missouri, 64111. Okay? So, rally to save USPS, NELC branches 10, 30, 104, 499, 1018, 5267, and 5521. Sunday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. Mill Creek Park, south end west of 47th and Main, Kansas City, Missouri. I just want to give a shout out to our union president, Andrew Mitchell, for being a dog when it comes to fighting for us. Also to our stewards and other amazing members of our union that fight for us each and every day and help educate our new PTS on their rights. Thank you, Corey, for educating me every day. We're also having a rally on the 23rd of March in Kansas City, Missouri, 2 p.m. And that's what I just read you, that flyer, okay? So just want to give a shout out to our union president, Andrew Mitchell, for being a dog when it comes to fighting for us. Also to our stewards and other amazing members of our union that fight for us each and every day and help educate our new PTS on their rights. That's awesome. And I love that shit. I love all across the country people saying, hey, give this person a shout out, give them some love because they are fighting. Trust me, that's rare. It's rare. I get more saying that they're not fighting for them than I do saying they are. That will change. All of that's changing. There will be a new mentality, new mindset when the CLC takes over. All this cowardice is getting rooted out. I'll root it out myself. I will not tolerate cowardice around me. I will not. And as director of city delivery, I'll go to places myself. If you're looking for me in my office, I ain't going to be there. I'm going to be all over this fucking country, kicking whoever in the fucking ass. Cowardice will not stand any longer for the NELC. It just won't. I was wondering if you could get 2 shout-outs to my union steward, Anthony Stasheshi. I know I'm going to fuck that up. Steward Anthony Stasheshi out of Watsontown, Pennsylvania. He stepped to the plate to become the union steward, has hit the ground running, and is going above and beyond about learning and becoming the best steward he can be. He is going to be one mean old dog and a thorn in management's side once he gets up to speed. So proud of you, bro. Keep up the great work. And also, it really isn't a shout-out, but more of a thoughts and condolences for Mr. Richie Ray, who just lost a pet last week, and that is an absolutely devastating time. So wanted everyone to keep him in their thoughts and to wish him strength and good energy to get through the tough time. So I'm gonna say this again because I know I screwed that name up. I was wondering if you could give 2 shout-outs to my union steward, Anthony Stasheshi, out of Watsontown, Pennsylvania. He stepped up to the plate to become the union steward and has hit the ground running and is going above and beyond about learning and becoming the best steward he can be. He is going to be one mean old dog and a thorn in management's side once he gets up to speed. And he will. He will. So proud of you, bro. Keep up the great work. And also to Mr. Richie Ray, who lost his cat. And so that's tough, man, when you lose that pet. It's like family members. Corey, give a big shout out to Tucson, Arizona branch 704 members for absolutely fucking killing it at our branch meeting and showing that the members reign supreme. Thank you for allowing me to come back and overturn the branch president's decision and represent you guys again. It's an honor to have so many of you show up in solidarity. I let it be a carrier-focused effort, and you guys delivered more than ever expected. It was one of the most heartwarming experiences I have ever been a part of. I love all of you who came to support or said kind words. Thanks for kicking fucking ass. More to come. So, big shout out to Tucson, Arizona, branch 704 members for absolutely fucking killing it in our branch meeting and showing that the members reign supreme. Thank you for allowing me to come back and overturn the branch president's decision and represent you guys again. And so this individual had called. We talked a while. And the branch president was wanting this individual to file agreements. And the agreements was wrong. And he told the branch president it was wrong. And so the branch president just removed him. Now, this motherfucker's been kicking ass. But this branch president didn't like that he wouldn't file that grievance that was a frivolous-ass grievance. And so removed him. So he went to the union meeting and had everybody show up. Business agent was there. And so the carriers are raising hell saying, hey, this dude here is kicking ass for us. Not going to remove him. So he was being lied to by a bunch of people. And then they had the vote. The only one that voted against him, the business agent. That tells you what they think about the city letter carrier. Because all the city letter carriers came and voted to have this person put back in for representing. The one who didn't, the business agent. That tells you what's going on there. All right, here's another rally. Hell no to dismantling the Postal Service. Stand with letter carriers rally to save USPS. NELC Branch 383, Paducah, Kentucky. Sunday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. 300 South 4th Street, Paducah, Kentucky, 42003. So that's NELC Branch 383, Paducah, Kentucky. Sunday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. 300 South 4th Street, Paducah, Kentucky, 42003. All right, so that's all the shout-outs. Just took me 30 minutes. I talked a little bit about stuff before that, and those will go down once these rallies are over, but there's you some shout-outs. Last week had regional training. I love going to regional training. I love going to it because you get to see people that you've not seen in a year, old acquaintances that I love getting back around my brothers and sisters that I've not seen. It's one of the best times of the year for me. I love it. Been doing arbitration since 2012, and that's taken me all around this region a bunch of times. And so I've had the honor of representing just about every branch in some form or fashion in arbitration, but absolutely loved it. Loved going down there. Like I said, getting back around my people, Just it takes you 5 minutes, man. You're caught up, if you know what I mean. Just how is everybody doing? And so, fantastic time. And so, if I didn't get back to you, if you called or something, I was down there in training, and so had some good training stuff going on. Now, your lying-ass president came in on Wednesday, and I thought it was sad, but justified. It was sad because when he came up, one person stood up for him and clapped. One. And that shows you just how much the carriers are telling this son of a bitch to fuck off. Is that you got the president of the NLC coming up to speak and one person standing up. And rightfully so. I wouldn't stand up for that motherfucker either. All he does is lie. He goes into this, talking about all the things that are going on. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. No questions. Nobody asked a question. When he finished, nobody clapped. Matter of fact, the business agent had to get up there and tell people to clap. And you had a couple of tables clap. It's like the motherfucker wasn't even there. Like he never showed up. And that was a testament to who he is. And what he's done since he's been in office. How he's completely fucked us over. I saw on social media where there was one region where a bunch of them got up and clapped, and people were pissed off saying, why would you clap? And one person said, well, I clap because I was raised to respect the title. Respect the title of president. And I'm the opposite of that. I was raised that you have to earn my respect. You have to earn me respecting you. That is not given. You don't win that. You don't win my respect by winning an election. That's not how that goes. You don't earn my respect by winning an election. You earn my respect by your deeds. And I've got one of the sorriest low-down motherfuckers I've ever seen. One of the lyingest son of a bitches that's ever been in a position of power is my president right now. And I will sit on my ass when that motherfucker shows up. I refuse to respect a piece of shit like that. The lyingest motherfucker I've ever known. And so, no, I will not stand for that cowardly son of a bitch. You want to stand for him? Fine. You want to talk about, hey, it's out of respect for the position? When you do that, you're sending a message to that narcissistic son of a bitch that he's doing a great job. He probably left there and said, hey, they all stood for me. They know I'm doing a great job. Here's a motherfucker that has sold us the fuck out. I mean, sold us the fuck out. I tell you what, I want somebody to message me. If you don't like me, whatever, I don't care. Message me and tell me one thing this motherfucker's done to earn my respect. Message me this week. Put it up on social media. One thing this lying son of a bitch has ever done to earn my respect. You can't do it. And here's the sad thing. The one individual who did stand up for him, he fucked her over more than anybody else in that whole room. Matter of fact, I read a letter of hers where she wrote to him because he promised her a position if he was elected and lied to her. You know why? Because that's all the motherfucker knows how to do is lie. He cannot tell the truth to save his life. So this individual stood up and clapped even though he fucked her over. There are those that are more committed to those 4 letters than they are themselves, NLC. They're more committed to those 4 letters than they are to the city letter carrier. The NLC to them is God. They're more committed to those letters than they are anything else. And that's a shame. And that's the reason we are where we're at today. They're so blinded to their allegiance to those 4 letters that they will sell their soul for it. You had an individual completely fuck somebody over. Completely fuck them over. Promised them a position at National. Lied to them. And they're going to stand and clap for them. Because those 4 letters are their religion. And that's what we're going to get out of there when we take over next year. All these people, the good old boy system, that worship this thing like it's a religion and have forgotten where they've come from. That's what we're going to do. And so, the motherfucker has never earned my respect, will never earn my respect. He is who he is. He got up there and he's talking that same old shit he does everywhere else about the TA and going to arbitration. And he said, we sent out these samplings of these surveys, just these samplings, and to see what people are interested in and what we would take forward. And so by a majority of these surveys, these samplings, we determined that the carriers are most interested in the financial package. And so that's what we'll take forward because of these surveys, these samplings. And so he used a crisis with the new president. He used the crisis to push this TA, to push that into an expedited arbitration. He took advantage of that, the fear-mongering that goes along with that. You have branch presidents coming out saying that it's the carrier's fault. It's the carrier's fault now because we could have just voted on that TA and gotten that little pittance that they were offering us. But no, the carriers, they had to vote no. And now look at us where we're at. Now we're uncertain because of a new administration and an expedited arbitration. We're uncertain now, and it's the carriers that did it because how dare them not take those scraps we were throwing them? How dare them not take those crumbs that we were throwing them? Now it's their fault. Look at us now because we're in an administration that's got our head on a swivel, and so it's the carrier's fault. All this shit. That's selling your soul to the four letters of the NALC because you got the dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen as president who's fucked all of us over in this process. Every single bit of this is on him. 100% is on that line, dishonest motherfucker there. 600 days ago, he should have gone to management with his offer and said, this is what we can take and this is what we will not. We can't do it. We'll see you in arbitration. 600 days ago, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him dragging his feet with the Postal Service in tow so that they could give us this bullshit, trying to starve us out is exactly what that was. I put my life on it. Starve us out on this TA. That's the reason you took it to such great lengths of the 600 days. You wanted to starve us out because you're hand in hand with these motherfuckers, our enemy, our foe, and you wanted to give us these crumbs, these scraps from y'all's table, right? Y'all are in the Ritz-Carlton eating lobster and steak and Dom Perignon and some caviar and shit, kissing each other on the fucking lips, throwing shit out that you wouldn't eat, the scraps from the table, throwing that out the fucking door to us, right? After you starved us out for so fucking long, and we stood up and said, shove it up your fucking ass, and now you're going to say it's our fault? That's what presidents are saying. You see it on social media. That's what they're saying. It's the letter carrier's fault. Fuck you. Fuck you. That bitch of a president is the one who's solely responsible for this shit here. You took all that fucking time that you should have been in arbitration 600 days ago, 500 days ago, 400 days ago, 300 days ago, 200 days ago, 100 days ago. But no, here we are because you have the most incompetent fool I've ever seen running this union. You have the most incompetent motherfucker I've ever seen running this union. And he intentionally delayed that, trying to starve us out, and got himself fucked over because now you have an administration that people are leery of. They got their head on a swivel. What's coming? What's happening? They're talking about the Postal Service. Everybody's wondering. You got people nervous. He's using that now to his advantage to say, hey, look, now that the TA, now that y'all voted it down, we're left with no choice but to go to expedited arbitration because of the uncertainty of things. Motherfucker, you did it. Not once has he come out and apologized for a fucking entire craft over. Not once. And you got motherfuckers saying it's our fault. City letter carriers, let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. We stand alone. City letter carriers, fuck the union right now. I'm not in the union right now. I'm city letter carrier. I'm light blue. We stand alone. We are by ourselves. Okay? You got the Postal Service. Incompetent at best. Incompetent at best in their running of things. Now, their federal government, I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a second with this Doge shit coming in. Their federal government, they're fat. They're fat. Now, what did your president say the other day to some individuals that talked about getting in those books and saying, talking about management? He said, well, you can get rid of all the management. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to have an effect on what we're doing in arbitration. That's what he said. Here's how fucking stupid that motherfucker is. You've got to start somewhere showing an arbitrator where this money's going. And I'm going to tell you what the Postmaster General did. He did our job for us. He did our job for us. I'm going to read you what he said when I talk about this Doge shit. He did our job for us when you talk about getting in those books. Because you have to show the arbitrator, look, it's not our fault. The Postal Service may be in disarray. There may be some financial issues. First off, you can't take those into consideration like your dumbass president did when he went in there and came out and said they're broke. He did the one thing you cannot do. You cannot go in there and say, I'm going to take your financial situation into account. When I was in that arbitration, I played the closing for you. Management came in there and said, what? We're broke. We're in financial disarray. And what did I say? It's just an advocate out of Nashville. I said, Mr. Arbitrator, you cannot take that into consideration because our financial situation is the responsibility of Congress, period. Go back and listen to it. It's the responsibility of Congress, period. And what did the president of this union say? They're broke. They've lost too much money. They're losing billions. He did the one thing you cannot do. Take the financial situation of the Postal Service into account. That's what he did. And now he's going to say, well, you take away postal management, that's not going to matter. That's one thing, you dumb fuck. That's one thing on a list of multitude of things that you're going to bring forward. Say, look, we've got a 9-to-1 ratio management craft. That's completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. We've got Congress taking this hundreds of millions of dollars. We've got the Postal Regulatory Commission that will not increase the price of stamps because it would elevate everybody, UPS and FedEx, all those will be affected by it. So we can't do that. It's not the city letter carrier's fault. We come to work every day. Look at what we've done in COVID, in the heat, in the rain, in the storms. Being lied to, being cheated on. We deserve more. We are the essential worker. We are the one and only backbone of the Postal Service. It's the city letter carrier out there every day. You talk about UPS, they don't do near what we do. You look at them in December, they get help. They have 2 people in their truck running. It's just us, just a lot more packages. We do it by ourselves. We go to every box every day. We do much more than any other craft. We are the essential worker. And you've got a president selling us the fuck out. And it's our fault? Who in the fuck are you? They're saying it's our fault, city letter carriers. We stand alone. We stand alone. Postal Service is incompetent at best. Our union is woefully incompetent. You got 2 people at the top who I wouldn't put over a fucking hot dog stand. And you got a new administration. Like I said, that's made us put our head on a swivel. What's happening? What's going on? We're having rallies. We're having days of action just in case. Like I said, that's insurance. Just in case, we're going to take care of ourselves. City letter carriers, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We still don't have anything like a commercial coming out, which I think would be massive for us right now. When I talk about Doge, the two things you need to win over. These are the two things you need to do. You need to win over Congress, which we have. We got the support. You need to win over the public. That's the most important thing, because the public are constituents, their votes. You should have a commercial on every fucking channel. 30 minutes, somebody sitting at tables, just city letter carriers, and identifying themselves as such. Who are we? What do we do? Those individuals, like I said, that you may not be able to go and check on your parents every day. We'll do that. We're there every day. You're not able to check on your mom and dad, the elderly. We're going to do that for you. Every day we go to that house. You know who the grandparents, the elderly talk to every day, who they look forward to seeing every day, who they're going to tell about their kids and their grandkids and their great-grandkids. Do you know who that is? It's a city letter carrier. Do you think the public might be interested in that? What about we receive no tax money? What about we're the single largest hire of disabled veterans other than the Department of Defense? What about those things? What about we're one of the largest hires of minorities in the country? The country may want to know that shit. They may not know that we receive no tax money. They may want to know that because they're uneducated. They're not ignorant. They're uneducated on who we are. I think that would be important right now if you're concerned about the current administration. Maybe. Possibly. It would be a good idea. But you have incompetence on a biblical scale right now with our president. Talking about, well, management, if you got rid of management, that really wouldn't make a difference. That tells you that this skillful negotiator can't skillfully negotiate his ass. He doesn't know what he's doing. He will sound convincing when he's telling you why he's doing things or why he's not doing things. He will sound convincing. He's an ignorant ass is what he is. And he has no idea who in the fuck we are. He has no idea when he loses next year, he'll be in management within a month. Mark my words. Mark my words. He'll be in management within a month. But the city letter carrier, we stand alone. We stand alone. And there's no place I'd rather be than with my brothers and sisters in light blue. There is no place I'd rather be. We will do this ourselves. We have shown over and over again how resilient we are, how tough we are, how strong we are. We do it every fucking day when we're out there in the elements. We show it every fucking day. You got a motherfucker as our president who thinks we're fools. You've got MBAs and branch presidents who think we're fools. We will put those motherfuckers in the soup line next year. That's what we're going to do. To say that it's our fault because we voted down shit. We voted down scraps. We voted down completely debilitating contractual issues. The caps on 1260, the reduction in office time, foolishness on a grand scale, the things that they have forced my president to accepting. There's no way that dumb dipshit did that himself. They forced him to accept that shit because they're men amongst boys in there. We got boys in there negotiating, talking about Renfro. To say that it's our fault that we didn't take that shit is inexcusable. To say that it's our fault as city letter carriers, the shit we do, the shit we put up with every fucking day we come into this motherfucker, to say that it's our fault is inexcusable. 600 days ago, this motherfucker should have taken us to arbitration, and you wouldn't have to worry about a thing. We would just be talking about making phone calls to Congress just to keep people in check right now that are talking about us. That's what you'd be talking about right now. You wouldn't be worried about a fucking thing on this contract. We would have already got the decision back 500 days ago. 550 days ago. we would have gotten the decision back. 400 days ago, we would have gotten the decision back. 300 days ago, we would have gotten the decision back. Maybe 200 days ago, maybe 100 days ago, we would have gotten the decision back, and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. But you thought you'd play us as fools. You thought we were ignorant peasants, right? That's what you thought. And we stood the fuck up on your ass. Now you're having to go around to these different rap sessions, lying your fucking ass off because that's all you know how to fucking do. You know, your time is coming. Your time is coming. You got another year to lie. Get them all out of your system. All right. I'm going to read a couple of things that people sent to me, and I'm going to tell you how to beat them. Okay, so get your pen and paper ready. I'm going to tell you how to beat them. Then I'm going to go over this Doge stuff a little bit, tell you who we are. And why I don't really concern myself. First off, I just don't concern myself. I don't worry about shit. That pisses people off. They're thinking that I am somehow telling y'all not to worry or not be concerned. Y'all do what you want to do. I just don't worry and I don't concern myself. You know, because first off, that will help nothing. That will help nothing. To worry. I've just never done it. I've never done it. I'll tell you the one time I was stressed and worried. I'll tell you. When my brother was dying of cancer, for my parents' sake, because it was not good. It was not good, my God. My poor mother. So, yeah, I had everybody I know pray. Pray for my mom and dad. Pray for my brother that he'll be healed. That was a very terrible, stressful time. And you do worry. Worried about my mom and dad. Worried about my brother. And all of that worrying and stress and prayer, and he died. Did nothing for him. He died right there in front of my mom and dad. Took his last breath while my dad was right in his face talking to him. Right in his face. An inch from his face, my dad was down there, had both his hands on his face, talking to my brother, and he died right there. So all of that worrying and all of that stress and all of that prayer did absolutely nothing for my brother. He died. And so it lets you know that you can worry, you can pray, you can stress. It will help nothing. It will help nothing. And so I don't worry and I don't stress. I think a lot. What can we do? How can we, if you're in a foxhole with somebody, and do you want somebody in the foxhole when shit's coming down, when shit's raining down, when shit's getting heavy? Do you want a motherfucker in there that's just panicked and going crazy, shooting everywhere? Or do you want somebody that says, hey, hang on just a second. Let's look and see what we're up against. What are we dealing with? What's the best course of action? What's the best plan to attack? Give me that person. Don't give me the person that automatically says we're fired. Oh, fuck, we're done. We're fired. My retirement. We're being laid off. We're being fired. Damn. Let's see what's going on here. Fuck, let's have a plan of action. And that's what we did. We had a day of action, calling our Congress, because there's the two most important things right now, Congress and the public. That's the two most important things right now, Congress and the public. So we said, hey, we're going to have a day of action. Call your congressman. And we'll have another. May have one next week. May have the one the week after that. We'll have another day of action because it was highly successful. We need to be telling the public, but my union has their head up their ass and doesn't know what to do. And so, I don't worry and I don't stress. I think. And people don't like that. They take shots at me because I think and I don't worry. But I don't. I just go through shit in my head and deal with it. But here's something that somebody sent out. And it's the telematics that are in these mattresses and in our vehicles. The telematics devices where their management is telling people now, hey, we can watch you on this telematics stuff. And it will tell us when you're not wearing your seatbelt. Okay? Now, here's the problem. Now, you got dumb fuckers out there on social media that one response was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my whole fucking life. And it has some people liking it. Dude says, why don't you just do what you're supposed to do? Why don't you just do your job? Talking about just wear your seatbelt. Why don't you just do your job? Listen, if your response to somebody in a help group is just do your job, you need to get out of the union. You are not a union person. If your response to somebody questioning something about, hey, these telematics things are telling us that they're watching us now, management's questioning us because it's saying that we're not wearing our seatbelt. If your response is you need to just do your job, you're a fucking idiot. If that's the case, if you say just do your job, then we should just do away with Article 16. If I bring discipline to you because of attendance and you say, you just need to come to work, you are a failure as a union person. You're a failure. If I bring some discipline to you because I have an accident and you say, you need to be safer, you're a failure. Because what we have here is a union that we fight things and we help people out of situations. Because here's the problem. When you talk about just do your job, these telematics, and I'm going to talk about this again in a second. What we have here is somebody saying, just be perfect. Just be perfect. Just do your job the same way every day. There's another person who constantly comments on things saying, that doesn't happen at my station. That never happens at my station. My carriers don't have to worry about that. This individual constantly says that. When people say these telematics or my carriers just wear their seatbelts, they don't ever have to worry about anything. This individual works at the most perfect station in the country because management never issues discipline. All the carriers are perfect. Everything's wonderful. You are a failure as a union person because to me, how I was raised was an injury to one is an injury to all, right? If anybody should have that mindset, it's me. Management does not fuck with my station. You can ask anybody who's ever worked there. I have the most militant group of carriers in the country. I'd put them up against anybody. They're militant. They don't take shit from anybody. Any stranger walks in, gets dismantled. They don't like people coming into the station. They don't like you coming in if you got anything other than light blue. They don't want you coming in there. And they're going to let you know about it. And nothing happens. Nothing happens at my station. So if anybody should have that mindset, it's me. But look at me. I've been kicked out of national because of this podcast, trying to educate. I've been blackballed from arbitrations, educating at regional, outside shop steward, outside Formula A, these teams that go around. I've got postal inspectors investigating me because of this podcast where I'm trying to educate. So you have two different kind of people. Those that say it doesn't affect me because everything's great at my station, or those that say, hey, an injury to one's an injury to all. So we're going to fuck some shit up for everybody. Let's be those that say we're going to fuck shit up for everybody because an injury to one is an injury to all. Not, hey, my station over here, we're great, we're fine. Fuck everybody else. Or those dumb fuckers that say, just do your job. Because here's the problem with that. What happens is, in a lot of cases, you have individuals that have a home life that's probably not the best. They may have kids going through something that you couldn't imagine. They may have parent issues. Parents are sick. They're losing their parents. All they can think about is that. They may have partner issues, Their partner's not doing well. Maybe they're not going to make it. Maybe they're in a situation where they know that they're going to lose their partner through divorce or something like that. Life events happen to us, man, and we come into work. You have no idea what we're going through because you go to your case, you case your route. This individual's probably going through something you couldn't even imagine. And they may go out there and for some reason, make a mistake. Maybe they're trying to get home to their kids. All they can think about is these sick kids at home. There's nobody watching them. They're a single parent. And they come into work, and all they can think about is hurrying up. They can't call in sick anymore because of fear of getting attendance-related discipline. So they're coming into work, their kid's at home sick and they're having to rush through their day, and maybe they forget, maybe just maybe they forget to put that seatbelt on, or they do something they shouldn't. Maybe they run a stop sign, something they wouldn't normally do, but all their mind is on is something going on at the house. They need to get back. And you're going to sit there and tell them just do their fucking job. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a fucking piece of shit. We are not perfect. We will never be perfect. We make mistakes. So instead of saying some stupid ass shit like that, why don't you delete your social media account, because you're a worthless motherfucker. That's what you are. Because an injury to one is an injury to all. So if somebody's got an issue with telematics, saying that their managers are coming out and saying you're not wearing your seatbelt, let's get a game plan together to help them, right? Because what we were told was, when telematics came out, and I read the email to you from the VMF, they said the only thing that the telematics is going to do is going to let us know the location of a broken down vehicle, and it's going to let us know when vehicles need to come in and be repaired, when it's their time to come in and be repaired and maintained, the maintenance on those, right? Those are the only two things these telematics are being put into the vehicles for. And so, heaven help us that management didn't get the memo. And so they're going to use that. They're going to bastardize that, just like they did the scanners, because your dumbass president said in a memo that they could jointly watch us, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. They can jointly watch us, which is in complete contradiction to 134 of the M39 handbook. So you got management bastardizing that. They take these telematics now, something that was told to us. I don't know if anything was told to Renfro. We don't know what in the fuck he's doing. This motherfucker is gone. I mean, he's up there in the fucking office just out of it, man. He don't know what. God bless. Help us. Anyway, so the telematics comes in. It's only supposed to be used for two things. That's what we were told. I read the email to you that was sent to me. And now management takes that, and for some reason they bastardize it. Imagine that. And they say, we can watch you now without your seatbelt on. This telematics will show us, right? First thing, if I'm ever questioned, this shows that your seatbelt wasn't on for this portion to this portion. What's your answer? I always wear my seatbelt. I always wear my seatbelt. Well, this thing says that you didn't. I always wear my seatbelt. I always wear it. As a shop steward, we're going to say, what thing? What thing? The telematics. What does that run on? GPS. There you have it. Okay? So, we're going to go in there. We're going to say, as a carrier, I always wear my seatbelt. I always wear it. Well, on this date here, I always wear my seatbelt. Well, this thing here is a shop steward. You get in there and you say, hey, he's answered that question already. Let's move on. He always wears a seatbelt. Well, he's answered that question. Move on. Okay? Shop stewards, let's do our job in there. What we're going to do is, we're going to request, if they ever decide to issue discipline, if labor ever gets a wild hair and they go after us for that, we're going to ask for the 4584s on that specific day, okay? We're going to interview the manager, the supervisor who issued it, and say, when you went out there and saw them, were they wearing their seatbelt? I didn't go out there. Did you ever go out on the street? No. Do you have a 4584 for that day? No. So all of this, 100% is off of this telematics device. Right. Okay. So the telematics device, it states on it's page 3. Somebody just sent me the page. Page 3. It says telematics data capability. Telematics data capability. 6. Telematics device and system must record and report VIN and USPS vehicle number, odometer readings, vehicle fault or diagnostic trouble codes, seatbelt usage, fuel, liquid or electricity consumption, GPS coordinate breadcrumbs. GPS coordinate breadcrumbs. So there you have it. You're using something that is GPS ran. It has the GPS, the breadcrumbs. Everything is off of GPS. And so therefore you'll have M1458. M1458. Right? And that's the one that talks about MSP data. That's still relevant today. That's still, I know business agents saying it's not relevant. It's relevant. It's the last thing we have that talks about GPS data. Cannot be the sole determinant for discipline. Okay? So you're going to ask for the 4584. The M1458 will always put in section 134 of the M39 handbook. Covert techniques, spying using covert techniques, tree topping, all those things. You have to do street management in an above board manner, because what are we talking about? If you're talking about a seatbelt, I don't have a seatbelt in the office while I'm casing mail. I have a seatbelt in my vehicle while I'm on the street. And so if I'm on the street, it falls under section 134 of the M39 handbook, street management, right? So section 134 of the M39 handbook, we're going to get the tax clock rings to show that when this telematics was doing whatever, I'm on the street. It's going to show a street function, which would fall under 134 of the M39 handbook, street management. You must accompany me on the street. That does not mean watching a telematics device. You must accompany me on the street, right? And so there you have it. You got request the 4584. You're going to talk to the supervisor. Did you go out there and witness this? No. Is this 100% off of the telematics device? Yes. You're going to have M1458. You're going to have section 134 of the M39 handbook. And you're going to tell your carriers when they go in there to be questioned, I always wear my seatbelt. I always wear it. All right? So there you have it on that. Next is another thing. And these always piss me off. Makes me say bad language. Which I don't like, but you know, it happens. Here's another thing that was sent to me. And this is a memorandum from the Cleveland Postmaster. Effective today, the tour deviation play is a requirement for all stations. Now listen to this. Now, they're going to tell you what to request, but on the title, effective today, the tour deviation play. So when you request information, you're going to request the tour deviation play. And this is a requirement for all stations, okay? And we're going to talk about this. Carriers will start on time. Management will lock all doors except the main entrance and stand by the door at 8:03 a.m. and hand out a control form 3971. When I tell you, shit's getting crazy with these motherfuckers. Instead of looking to themselves, they will beat us down. Instead of looking to themselves, cost cutting, all this shit, they will beat us down, right? And so here's a dumb motherfucker saying this is this tour deviation play. Management will lock all doors except the main entrance and stand by the door at 8:03 a.m. and hand out a control form 3971. That's a grievance. That's a grievance. Get your pen and paper. We're going to go over this thing, especially y'all in Cleveland. That's a grievance. Section 511.23 of the Employee and Labor Relations Manual, the ELM. 511.23. Post employees, A, request leave by completing 3971. It's our responsibility to request a 3971 and request leave. So if you're handing me a 3971 and making me fill it out, that's a violation of 511.23. Post employees, A, request leave by completing 3971. Okay? I'm not requesting leave. I'll get a 3971 if I want to request leave. The carriers will complete the 3971 and hand it to management. That will go along with that grievance, right? Management violated Article 19 via the ELM, Section 511.23, where it says post employees request leave by completing 3971. It goes on. Management will enter late time as LWAP, and the time will not be made up at the end of the day. So you might have a past practice there where management, if you come in late, they'll let you work an extra time. So they're telling you that management will enter late time as LWAP. All right. So you got ELM 432.464B. ELM 432.464B, and that's the 5-minute privilege or 5-minute leeway rule. Okay, so ELM 432.464B, that's the that talks about the 5-minute leeway rule or 5-minute privilege. Okay, and so when they're saying they're going to stand there at 8:03 and hand you a form, there's a 5-minute leeway rule. All right, so we'll file on that. When it says that management will enter the late time as LWAP, that's going to be ELM 514.1B. ELM 514.1B. LWAP may be granted upon the employee's request, not the employer. LWAP may be granted upon the employee's request. I'm not requesting LWAP. So when it says management will enter the late time as LWAP, I request LWAP. So that's ELM 514.1B. LWAP may be granted upon the employee's request. Okay, so that's a grievance. All carriers will leave the office on time, and any deviation from the leave time, the MTSO must be notified. We're going to ask about what they're talking about. All carriers will leave the office on time. What time? What time? If it's based off of DOIS, that's a grievance. If it's based off of PET, that's a grievance. Okay, so find out what time they're talking about. Management will stand by the back door upon carriers leaving the office to ensure the carrier's scan moved to the street timely. Management will monitor the parking lot to ensure all carriers scan depart to route timely. Now, what are these managers doing all morning? If I've got 50 routes, you're going to have a manager standing there for 50 routes? And they're talking about we're the problem? God. Management will monitor the parking lot to ensure all carriers scan depart to route timely. If the employee enters back into the office and extends more than 5 to 10 minutes, the time will be considered an unauthorized office break, and the carriers are expected to return 10 minutes earlier from the street. I'm going to read that again. If the employee enters back into the office and extend more than 5 to 10 minutes, the time will be considered an unauthorized office break, and the carriers are expected to return 10 minutes earlier from the street. If you go to episode 69, it talks about the 5-minute PM office duties, okay? Management trying to restrict us to 5 minutes PM office duties. Episode 69, and that will cover that dumbass shit right there, okay? Episode 69 covers the 5-minute PM office duties, all right? Where management tries to hold us 5 minutes. So you're going to request the tour deviation play, and you're going to grieve every aspect of that dumbass shit, okay? So there you have the telematics. There you have this here is another thing that somebody sent me, and this is roaring back to, this is a complete whiteboard up in the office. And it says hours per route, time over your route base. And it has the carriers on there where they have the time over the route base. Load variance, 22 minutes. Now, where did they get that from? Your stupid ass president. And I'm not going to get off this motherfucker. It's going to be a year of this shit until he gets voted out. This is the dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen. To put times on memos. How do you do that? How do you put times on memos? I've said it. I know y'all are sick of me saying it, but if I've got something that it takes what it takes, how do I have an average? If it takes what it takes, how do I have an average? Right? Look, when I was Formula A, the shop steward would file a grievance, quarterly overtime grievance. And management would write a statement saying, hey, we came into an agreement, a local agreement that this wouldn't be counted or that wouldn't be counted. And so my management Formula A counterpart would come to me and say, hey, Corey, that's low down, man. They had an agreement. Y'all going to file a grievance anyway. And I always said this, those parties they don't have the authority to violate the contract, and they don't have the authority to rewrite the contract. So, unfortunately, as shitty as it is, this grievance is going forward because they don't have the authority to overwrite any language in that contract. And that's what they attempted to do with this local agreement. My president has come into an agreement with management which violates our national agreement when it says they can watch us with these scanners. To me, that's a violation of 134 of the M39. So both parties have violated the national agreement in these memos when it says you can watch us on these scanners and you can question us based off of things on these scanners. They have violated the contract when they said this 22-minute variance. Why? If this was not an agreement and management came into your office and said, here's these new variances, 22 minutes. 22 minutes, load time. And they're going to question you based off of those load times. And then if you don't give a proper explanation, they will reduct part of your route. We would instantly grieve that. If you have a certain amount for parcels and you go over that and you don't have an explanation for it and they will deduct that time, we would grieve that. But your president has come into an agreement that you will be questioned on these, when it talks about these parameters, right? That you go over these parameters, and if you don't have a good explanation, they will deduct that time from you. We would grieve that, right? So the problem here is that we have come into an agreement that violates our national agreement. So you have here, load variance 22 minutes. They got those 22 minutes off of those memos. I told you that was the Trojan horse. They're still beating the shit out of us. Somebody sent me this the other day. Total time used to load over the 22-minute average. Taking too much time to load. Taking too much time to load. We'll grieve that, but to me, that's creating a hostile work environment because they have the routes and you're highlighted if you're taking too much time to load. So you have your president coming to an agreement that things that takes what it takes no longer takes what it takes. It has a parameter. And if you can't answer accordingly for why it takes you that long, they'll deduct that from your route. So you got the office variance, 60 minutes. Time over the 60-minute average. They got your name up there and your route number, and it's highlighted. Here's another one. Inactivity instances. Inactivity will trigger when you are not moving, and it's in red and yellow and exclamation points. Inactivity time. Inactivity time used by route. You're not moving, and it's got you highlighted, your name, your route, and you're highlighted. Where'd they get inactivity time from? Those memos. Those memos. They're still creating a toxic work environment after all this time based off of those memos that your president signed into existence. Street variance to base. Total hours used over your street base hours. Demonstrated performance. They're trying to say you have a demonstrated performance. All of this is a grievance. I'd file a grievance on a whole damn board under section 115.4 of the M39 handbook. Maintain a mutual respect atmosphere. You're not doing that. You're not maintaining a mutual respect atmosphere with me when you have my name up there, my route up there highlighted telling me that I'm not loading my vehicle in time, or I'm taking too much time to load, or you're not moving. Inactivity time used by route, you're not moving. It says target 100%. And then it has 99%. It has what percentage you are. Has your rank. That whole board is a grievance. But it's because you have a dumbass president that has no fucking idea what he's doing down here as far as city letter carriers, fucking us over. He runs his office with deceit and lies and incompetence. He always has an answer for a question because you don't know the answer. He just lies his fucking ass off. He's deceitful. He's a liar. And he's incompetent. And that's just the way it is. I'm going to read a couple of things to you and I'll be done. Then tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to come on. You're going to have a curse-free episode. It's going to be solely on route inspection. Route inspection. But a lot of people are concerned about Doge coming in. I think that's how you say it. And the Postmaster General invited them in because we're not part of the federal government per se, where they just go in and start doing stuff. So he invited them in to come and look at things that I've been saying we should have done as a union, look in those books, right? And here's what's funny is that when they come in, he immediately starts making our case for us, for the city letter carrier, when he's talking about things. And this is what he states. He immediately starts taking them to the fraud and the waste and the loss. These are things we should have done when we got in those books so that we can show an arbitrator. He did it for us. So he said this: there is much more to be done, but major initiatives are out of our control. Last night I signed an agreement with the General Services Administration of Doge, representatives to assist us in identifying and achieving further efficiencies. This is an effort aligned with our efforts, as while we have accomplished a great deal, there is much more to be done. We are happy to have others to assist us in our worthwhile cause. The Doge team was gracious enough to ask us for the big problems they can help us with. Among other initiatives, I have provided the following list of items that are in your hands and that have been intractable, even though they have needed to be addressed for over a decade. Please review the following. 1. The mismanagement of our self-funded retirement assets and the actuarial miscalculations of our retirement obligations. These work functions reside with the Office of Personnel Management and the Treasury Department based on legislation enacted by the Congress. They result in several $1 billion a year in burdensome additional charges not common in private industry. 2. The mismanagement of our workers' compensation program, resulting in approximately $400 million a year in excessive charges when compared to private industry practices. These work functions reside with the Department of Labor and are legislated by Congress. 3. The unfunded mandates imposed on us by legislation. These well-intended laws that have been passed since we were created as a self-funding agency, for the most part, require the Postal Service to perform costly activities without providing any supporting funding. In the private industry context, this would be like UPS or FedEx providing services to the federal government without charging for them. This amount is estimated to cost between $6 billion and $11 billion annually. As you know, Congress is responsible for passing legislation without appropriate funding. Lastly, our burdensome regulatory requirements restricted normal business practice. The Postal Regulatory Commission is an unnecessary agency that has inflicted over $50 billion in damage to the Postal Service by administering defective pricing models and decades-old bureaucratic processes that encumber the Postal Service. They have an anachronistic view of the Postal Service's current business environment. They have failed to change as the times and the postal economy has changed, and they therefore stand in the way of the timely and necessary changes required to succeed as a self-funded enterprise in a competitive environment, which is what the Postal Service needs to do to survive. So there you have the Postmaster General telling Doge, hey, come in and help us with these big things. Not one of them was labor costs. Not one of them was labor costs. Not one of them talked about our collective bargaining. It was all things mandated by who? Congress. So when I say you got two things, Congress, the public. You need to talk to Congress, but we are a cash cow. When you talk about privatizing us, when you talk about selling us off, Congress is not going to allow that to happen. Why? Because we are a cash cow for too many people. You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. You're talking about billions upon billions of dollars. Do you think Congress is going to let somebody take over that? No, they're not. We are a cash cow. People say we're losing billions. He just told you where they're going. If we would have gotten in the books, like I said, should have paid several $1 million to have experts come in. They would have found that right there that he just told you. I'd take that into arbitration. Say, hey, it's not our fault. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. The carriers, we need to be industry leaders in pay. That's what we need to be. We're the essential worker, right? And so he just told you where the problem's at, where the fat's at. He did our job for us. But you notice he didn't say labor costs. He didn't say that. I'm going to read a few things to you and then I'll be done. Just my opinion. And there are those that can tell me to go fuck off. But this is how I think. So you read that from the Postmaster General. He did our case for us. United States Postal Service, also known as the Post Office, U.S. Mail, or simply the Postal Service, is an independent agency of the executive branch of the United States federal government responsible for providing postal service in the United States. Its insular areas and associated states, it is one of the few government agencies explicitly authorized by the Constitution of the United States. As of 2023, the USPS has 525,469 career employees and 114,623 non-career employees. The USPS has a monopoly on traditional letter delivery within the U.S. and operates under a Universal Service Obligation, USO, both of which are defined across a broad set of legal mandates which obligate it to provide uniform price and quality across the entirety of its service area. The Post Office has exclusive access to letterboxes marked U.S. Mail and personal letterboxes in the U.S., but has to compete against private package delivery services such as United Parcel Service, FedEx, and DHL. History. The first national postal agency in the U.S., known as the United States Post Office, was founded by the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia on July 26, 1775, at the beginning of the American Revolution. Benjamin Franklin was appointed the first Postmaster General. He also served a similar position for the American colonies. The Post Office Department was created in 1792 with the passage of the Postal Service Act. The appointment of local postmasters was a major venue for delivering patronage jobs to the party that controlled the White House. Newspaper editors often were named. It was elevated to a cabinet-level department in 1872 and was transformed by the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970 into the U.S. Postal Service as an independent agency. Since the early 1980s, many direct tax subsidies to the USPS, with the exception of subsidies for costs associated with disabled and overseas voters, have been reduced or eliminated. The United States Information Agency, USIA, helped the Post Office Department during the Cold War to redesign stamps to include more patriotic slogans. On March 18th of 1970, postal workers in New York City, upset over low wages and poor working conditions, and emboldened by the civil rights movement, organized a strike. The strike initially involved postal workers in only New York City, but it eventually gained support for over 210,000 postal workers across the nation. While the strike ended without any concessions from the federal government, it did ultimately allow for the postal worker unions and the government to negotiate a contract which gave the unions most of what they wanted, as well as the signing of the Postal Reorganization Act by President Richard Nixon on August 12th of 1970. The act replaced the cabinet-level Post Office Department with a new federal agency, the U.S. Postal Service, and took effect on July 1, 1971. Among the changes from the Postal Reorganization Act, a key aspect was the requirement for the USPS to be self-financing, which introduced a conflict with its other requirement to provide a nationwide service. The next major legislation affecting the service, the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, was passed in 2006. This act limited the services that the Postal Service could offer to only those it already provided, and also established a requirement for the USPS to save money for the medical benefits of future retirees. The act set a goal to save $5 billion per year for the first 10 years of a 50-year schedule. However, within 6 years, the Postal Service began to default on its payments. The Postal Service experienced lower revenues as mail use declined in the 2010s. In 2012, in order to be able to meet obligations for payroll and continuing its operations, the Postal Service defaulted on payments due for retirement benefits in August and again in September. that year. In September 2014, it defaulted on the payments for the fourth time and continued to default into 2017. The Postal Service fought financial reforms from Congress for relief from the funding obligation and debt from the defaults. Legislation was introduced in Congress in 2016 as well as in 2019, aiming to remove the benefits funding obligations. However, no new legislation was passed until the 2022 Postal Service Reform Act. The Postal Service Reform Act was signed into law in April of 2022. It forgave $57 billion in Postal Service debt and released it from the obligation to set aside funds for future retirees' health care, as well as adding requirements for delivery timing and reporting on performance metrics, and allowing the Postal Service to offer some non-mail services. Current operations, delivery, and this is as of 2023, the Postal Service operates 33,641 post office and contract locations in the U.S., and delivered a total of 127.3 billion packages and pieces of mail to 164.9 million delivery points in fiscal year 2022. USPS delivers mail and packages Monday through Saturday as required by the Postal Service Reform Act of 2022. On Sundays only, Priority Express and packages for Amazon are delivered. Now, that's not true because we deliver every package known to man, not just Priority Express and Amazon. So, the USPS delivers packages on Sundays in most major cities. During the 4 weeks preceding Christmas since 2013, packages from all mail classes and senders were delivered on Sunday in some areas. Parcels are also delivered on holidays, with the exception of Thanksgiving and Christmas. The USPS started delivering Priority Mail Express packages on Christmas Day in select locations for an additional fee. The USPS operates one of the largest civilian vehicle fleets in the world, with over 235,000 vehicles as of 2024, the majority of which are the distinctive and unique Chevrolet Grumman LLV long-life vehicle and the similar, newer Ford Utilimaster FFV flex fuel vehicle. Originally also referred to as the CRV, the LLVs were built from 1987 to 1994 and lack air conditioning, airbags, anti-lock brakes, and space for the large modern volume of e-commerce packages. The Grumman fleet ended its expected 24-year lifespan in fiscal year 2017. The LLV replacement process began in 2015, and after numerous delays, $6 billion contract was awarded in February 2021 to Oshkosh Defense to finalize design and produce 165,000 vehicles over 10 years. The number of gallons of fuel used in 2009 was 444 million at a cost of $1.1 billion. For every penny increase in the national average price of gasoline, the USPS spends an extra $8 million per year to fuel its fleet. So for every penny, it costs us $8 million per year. On January 28, 2009, Postmaster General John E. Potter testified before the Senate that if the Postal Service could not readjust its payment towards the contractually funded earned employee retiree health benefits as mandated by the Postal Accountability Enhancement Act of 2006, the USPS would be forced to consider cutting delivery to 5 days per week during June, July, and August. H.R. 22, addressing this issue, passed the House of Representatives and Senate and was signed into law on September 30, 2009. However, Postmaster General Potter continued to advance plans to eliminate Saturday mail delivery. On June 10, 2009, the National Rural Letter Carriers Association was contacted for its input on the USPS current study of the effect of 5-day delivery, along with developing an implementation plan for a 5-day service plan. A team of Postal Service headquarters executives and staff was given a time frame of 60 days to complete the study. The current concept examines the effect of 5-day delivery with no business or collections on Saturday, with post offices with current Saturday hours remaining open. On Thursday, April 15, 2010, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform held a hearing to examine the status of the Postal Service and recent reports on short and long-term strategies for the financial viability and stability of the USPS, entitled Continuing to Deliver, an examination of the Postal Service's current financial crisis and its future viability, at which PMG Potter testified that by 2020, the USPS cumulative losses could exceed 238 billion and that mail volume could drop 15% from 2009. In February 2013, the USPS announced that in order to save about $2 billion per year, Saturday delivery service would be discontinued except for packages, mail order medicines, priority mail, express mail, and mail delivered to the post office boxes, beginning August 10, 2013. However, the Consolidated and Further Continuing Appropriations Act of 2013, passed in March, reversed the cuts to Saturday delivery. During the Obama administration, comprehensive reform packages considered in the 113th Congress included S. 1486 and H.R. 2748. These include the efficiency measures supported by Postmaster General Patrick Donahoe of ending door-to-door delivery of mail for some or most of the 35 million addresses that currently receive it, replacing that with either curbside boxes or nearby cluster boxes. This would save $4.5 billion per year out of the $30 billion delivery budget. Door-to-door city delivery costs annually on average $353 per stop, curbside $224, and cluster box $160, and for rural delivery $278, $176, and $126 respectively. S. 1486, also with the support of Postmaster General Donahoe, would also allow the USPS to ship alcohol in compliance with state law for manufacturers recipients with ID to show they are over 21. This is projected to raise approximately $50 million per year. Governance and organization. The Board of Governors of the United States Postal Service sets policy, procedure, and postal rates for the services rendered. It has a similar role to a corporate board of directors. Of the 11 members of the board, 9 are appointed by the President and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. The 9 appointed members then select the United States Postmaster General, who serves as the board's 10th member and who oversees the day-to-day activities of the service as Chief Executive Officer. The 10-member board then nominates a Deputy Postmaster General who acts as Chief Operating Officer to the 11th and last remaining open seat. The Independent Postal Regulatory Commission, formerly the Postal Rate Commission, is also controlled by appointees of the President, confirmed by the Senate. It oversees postal rates and related concerns, having the authority to approve or reject USPS proposals. The USPS is often mistaken for a state-owned enterprise or government-owned corporation, for example, Amtrak, because it operates much like a business. It is, however, an establishment of the executive branch of the government of the United States, 39 U.S. Code at 201, as it is controlled by presidential appointees and the Postmaster General. As a government agency, it has many special privileges, including sovereign immunity, eminent domain powers, powers to negotiate postal treaties with foreign nations, and an exclusive legal right to deliver first-class and third-class mail. Indeed, in 2004, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in a unanimous decision the Postal Service is not subject to antitrust liability. In both form and function, it is not a separate antitrust person from the United States, but is part of the government, and so is not controlled by the antitrust laws such as the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. Unlike a state-owned enterprise, the USPS lacks a transparent ownership structure and is not subject to standard rules and norms that apply to commercial entities. The USPS also lacks commercial discretion and control. 18 U.S. Code at 1725 creates a statutory monopoly on access to letterboxes by authorizing the federal government to impose fines against anyone who knowingly and willfully deposits any mailable matter in such letterboxes, on which no postage has been paid. The U.S. Supreme Court has upheld this monopoly against a First Amendment freedom of speech challenge. It thus remains illegal in the U.S. for anyone other than the employees and agents of the USPS to deliver mail pieces to letterboxes marked U.S. Mail. The Postal Service also has a Mailers Technical Advisory Committee and local postal customer councils, which are advisory and primarily involve business customers. Funding and privatization proposals. Since the Postal Reorganization Act came into effect in 1971, the USPS has been mandated to be self-financing and rely solely on revenue from stamps and packages deliveries to support itself. In 1982, postal stamps were changed to be categorized as products rather than a form of taxation, and since then the Postal Service has no longer received taxpayer funding. Since the 1990s, Republicans have been discussing the idea of privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. President Trump's administration proposed turning USPS into a private postal operator as part of the June 2018 gubernatorial reorganization plan, although there was strong bipartisan opposition to the idea in Congress. I'll read that again. Since the 1990s, Republicans have been discussing the idea of privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. President Trump's administration proposed turning USPS into a private postal operator as part of the June 2018 gubernatorial reorganization plan, although there was strong bipartisan opposition to the idea in Congress. Remember the two things I said? Two individuals that we need to persuade. Congress, the public. Congress and the public. That's the reason we have days of action. Contacting our congressmen. We will continue to inundate them with phone calls, emails. Congress. We need to get a hold of the public. On December 17, 2017, President Trump criticized the Postal Service relationship with Amazon. In a post on Twitter, he stated, "Why is the United States Post Office, which is losing many billions of dollars a year, while charging Amazon and others so little to deliver their packages, making Amazon richer and the post office dumber and poorer? Should be charging much more. Amazon maintains that the Postal Service makes a profit from its contract with the company." On June 21, 2018, Trump proposed a sweeping reorganization, but Congress did not act. Remember the two things I told you. Congress, the public. You got to get on with Congress. And they overwhelmingly support us, the Postal Service. Universal Service Obligation Monopoly Status. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7 of the U.S. Constitution grants Congress the power to establish post offices and post roads, which has been interpreted as a de facto congressional monopoly over the delivery of first-class residential mail, which has been defined as non-urgent residential letters, non-packages. Accordingly, no other system for delivering first-class residential mail, public or private, has been tolerated, absent Congress's consent. The mission of the Postal Service is to provide the American public with trusted universal postal service. While not explicitly defined, the Postal Service's Universal Service Obligation, USO, is broadly outlined in statute and includes multiple dimensions: geographic scope, range of products, access to services and facilities, delivery frequency, affordable and uniform pricing, service quality, and security of the mail. While other carriers may claim to voluntarily provide delivery on a broad basis, the Postal Service is the only carrier with a legal obligation to provide all the various aspects of universal service. Proponents of universal service principles claim that since any obligation must be matched by the financial capability to meet that obligation, the postal monopoly was put in place as a funding mechanism for the USO and has been in place for over 100 years. It consists of two parts: the Private Express Statutes, PES, and the Mailbox Access Rule. The PES refers to the Postal Service's monopoly on delivery of letters, and the Mailbox Rule refers to the Postal Service's exclusive access to other customer mailboxes. And so there you have just a little history. I know that was boring, but this is how I think, right? This is how I think. When people start losing their minds about things that are talked about, the federal government, they're going after the federal government. They're going after unions. We're not part of that. We're not. So I don't concern myself with that. They're coming. They're doing all the. They're coming. I don't concern myself with that. Because why? Because we're in the Constitution. There are laws. It has to go through Congress. The President of the United States can get on air every single day, and he can say, "I'm going to privatize the post office." Every day he can say that. Whoever can say, "We're going to privatize the post office." Every single day they can come out and they can say that. They're going to say, "We're going to do away with collective bargaining. We're going to privatize the Postal Service." I don't concern myself with that. Why? Congress. The Constitution. Okay? That's why I don't concern myself with it. I'm going to read this to you, then I'll be done. Question, can the president privatize the U.S. Postal Service? The answer, no. Because federal law establishes the Postal Service as a core function of the government, privatizing USPS would require Congress to pass a new law. The U.S. Postal Service in its current form was established by the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970. That law clearly states that the mail has to be delivered by the federal government, not private companies. The United States Postal Service shall be operated as a basic and fundamental service provided to the people by the government of the United States, authorized by the Constitution, created by act of Congress, and supported by the people. What are the two things I told you we needed to concentrate on? What are the two things I told you we needed to concentrate on? Congress, the public. Right? Read that again. The United States Postal Service shall be operated as a basic and fundamental service provided to the people by the government of the United States, authorized by the Constitution, created by act of Congress, and supported by the people. The law also lays out the fundamental requirements of that service, such as delivering 6 days a week and delivering to every address in the country, no matter how remote and expensive it is to reach. Because these functions are enshrined in federal law, the president cannot change them with executive orders. Now, that's what your president, Renfro, went fear-mongering about, right? To justify expediting this arbitration, to justify only taking the financial package forward, to justify pushing through these contractual issues that we voted down, talking about he sent out these surveys, these samplings, to justify that, this executive order that the Washington Post came out on. Because these functions are enshrined in federal law, the president cannot change them with executive orders. The Postal Service is part of the federal government under Title 39 of the U.S. Code. It's part of the executive branch of the government. You need an act of Congress to change that going forward. Congress, public. You need an act of Congress. An 11-seat board of governors oversees USPS operations. They too do not have the power to privatize the Postal Service. The government has to operate the Postal Service now, and the Board of Governors has no authority to sell or privatize the Postal Service. The President's authority over USPS in general is limited, but the agency's current financial situation could make it dependent on loans from the U.S. Treasury. The President could pressure the USPS to take desired actions by refusing to approve those loans as long as his demands don't violate the law. It's removed Trump tried during his first term, and that some conservatives have said he should consider again. There are significant limitations, but the federal government should definitely look to use the levers that it has financially with the Postal Service and compel it to take some cost saving and other steps. And so that's how I think. That's how I think. The president could come out and say, I'm going to privatize, I'm going to privatize, I'm going to privatize. Congress. We have to keep doing these days of actions. We got to keep our head on a swivel. City letter carriers, when I said we're going to do this ourselves, we got a postal service that's incompetent. The Postmaster General laid it out perfectly for us where all of our money's going, right? We're not in as bad a shape as I thought, right? When you read that, he's telling you where the money's going. He's pinpointing. Doge, come in here and look at this here and help us out with that. Nothing about labor costs. Now, you can read into it what you want. I don't do that. You got a union that's incompetent and incapable of doing anything right. You got administration. We're going to keep our head on a swivel, right? We're going to keep our head on a swivel. We're going to have these days of action. We're going to have these rallies. We're going to make Congress priority one. Let them know, hey, we're looking, we're watching, okay? And the customer, the public. That's what we got to do. So I don't worry. I don't concern myself. You got to think about things. Okay? I mean, I know. That's easy for me to say. But that's just how it is, man. That's how it is. I love each and every one of you. I do. I love each and every single one of you. as city letter carriers, we will do this ourselves. We're going to do this ourselves. We'll call for another day of action. It was highly successful. We'll do it again. We'll let Congress know we're looking, we're watching, we're worried, okay? We're concerned. This is our livelihood. You got 600,000 employees looking. We got universal service hanging in the balance. We got elderly people that look forward to seeing us every day. The public needs to know that. We receive no tax money. The public needs to know that. We're one of the largest hires of minorities and disabled veterans. The public needs to know that. They love us. They love us. They need to understand where we're coming from, that we might be in the crosshairs a little bit. Call your congressman. Congress and the public. That's where it's at. All right. Hey, I love each and every one of you, man. I do. With all my heart, I love you. We're going to get this thing turned around. I promise you that. We're going to get this thing turned around. James Henry's going to take over this thing with a mountain of integrity and get this thing turned back over to the city letter carrier and doing what we're supposed to be doing. All these things will be handled. All these things will be handled. Okay? So tomorrow, I'm going to have an hour of talking. Holy shit, that was 2 hours. Good God almighty. So, an hour of reading tomorrow. 6-day count. All right? I love you very much. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.